matchup here and see who will come out on top. DarkZone just trying to get themselves some extra points on the board here. Like we said, their position in this group is already locked in regardless of the outcome of this match and the following one. But for NIP, they're still fighting for SI points. That is the most relevant thing that they want to try and get here with a few more wins potentially going into their pocket, or rather this last win here. We've got the bans up on the screen. Let's take a look at who's going to get knocked out first. NIP has the 2 outside bans. DarkZone has the 2 inner ones. They're going to knock out Flores first. He's been quite the mainstay operator, specifically for NA teams, and we started to see that expand into other regions as well at this event, so a smart choice from NIP to get rid of that.
Yeah, well, seeing if this matchup was going to be a touch more candid here, but sticking to some quite strong bans, like the Flores ban. Obviously with Cafe and the way that it plays out with its utility game, Flores is a pretty strong operator that can deal a lot of damage, especially to those deployable shield setups, but he just has a pretty solid influence overall. And operators quite like him, but one that operates a lot differently. Thatcher going to get removed from play as well. So let's see what the last defensive ban here will be for DarkZone, their last ban overall. It's going to be the Mira, obviously making quite a bit of sense, all things considered. Mira extremely strong, and Cafe being a strong map for her in general.
Final ban coming up right now. That last choice from NIP. Anything interesting? No, not really. It's going to be a Valkyrie ban here. I believe she is probably our most banned defender if I had to take a guess at it without having the stats in front of me. If not the most, she's got to be within the top 3 or top 5.
Yeah, most definitely. Valkyrie is one of those priority picks just because everyone absolutely loves her. I mean, her gun's extremely consistent, has the Deagle secondary, Nitro Cell for her secondary utility as well, and then you just have Valkyrie cameras that give so much information. So, you know, it's just one of those picks that's always going to be able to be worked into a lineup, especially on maps that, you know, have a lot of really interesting spots, and Cafe definitely has quite a few different like shelves and trees and things like that that you can try and put those cameras inside of.
Meanwhile, over here on the site choice, it's going to be a bar and cocktail start for NIP. Nothing too surprising when it comes to the operator lineups, although we are going to see 2 6 picks from either side. Originally a Buck changed up to a Yana now for DarkZone, and as well NIP going to change things over towards a Castle, which means that Buck choice, this quick change up over towards the Yana, probably going to end up being more useful with the Castle barricades in the way, and considering we're up against a 3rd floor site, not one of the lower ones.
Absolutely. These explosives definitely going to assist DarkZone with breaking a lot of this setup down here for Ninjas and Pyjamas, but I'll just see exactly what they want to go for here. I think the biggest thing that'll stand out to most of everyone at home, especially from how much Kappa we've seen thus far at this LAN, is that there's no castle. Well, there is a castle, excuse me, but there's no Rooney to back up the castle barricades. That's what I was trying to get at, is the fact that they're obviously going to have a little bit easier route in destroying that utility to have some influence over places like Cigar. So we'll see how DarkZone fares in that.
Attacker's objective is to defuse a bomb.
Away from that, though, to see the opening spawn come out from DarkZone. We'll see where exactly they try to put that pressure. Some early shots going in through the windows over by Piano there, but thankfully for the NIP roster, no one trying to challenge that, so no damage going to be received by either end. NIP, though, still will keep their focus primarily on the 3rd floor. No attempts to stop the early drone work going on here from the DarkZone roster, as Panba is going to be able to walk in for free on bottom light and start taking some vertical control. Not the direction you usually expect, though, so it will be hard for Panba to find a good initiation, but regardless, he's walking his way right up right now, taking a lot of that potential away from NIP.
We'll at least be able to hold onto the mid floor here, although it doesn't seem like Ninjas and Pyjamas exactly wanted to do that in the first place. They are going to have an escape hatch open inside of Christmas. That'll lead into Train if anybody does want to drop down into that area. But you can see DarkZone already seemingly aware of this, but it's only Hyper and Panbazou on this mid floor currently. They'll be able to hold this down for quite some time as Ninjas and Pyjamas don't have any bodies in the area. DarkZone still trying to clear out this reading area right here. They obviously want to try and get a few extra members inside, but the thing is obviously without having that Buck, the verticality is going to be a little difficult here for them. Some frag grenades down right now to try and clear some stuff out, but nobody home inside a cocktail apparently.
Eclipse, going to be one of the first players to start putting some pressure onto these repelled angles, most notably into Cocktail. What a nade from Eclipse. Sinks it right up on top of Julio, taking him out, setting up an early advantage for the DZ roster to play off of here. Rest of NIP going to start restricting themselves a little bit lower out. Like you said, DarkZone has all this control down on the 2nd floor, which is not the usual way you will normally see a team trying to attack this site, but still combined with good repel pressure that we've already seen from Eclipse, and that can potentially be added to other areas of this play, still very possible they could make this vertical ascent aggression work out for them.
Such a sad land for Ninjas in Pyjamas, and the start to this game no different. Pino has a hand in something. He'll take down BC, which will be the only hard breach in the lineup for DZ here. Minute only remaining on the clock now as Ninjas in Pyjamas clutch their pearl, simply sitting on site waiting for DarkZero to make their next move. Still have a lot of opportunity here. So does Psycho. He's simply going to hop outside and get a freebie here. Head over towards Garage, more than likely having safe harbor, but not before Panbazou finds him. That's going to be extremely straightforward for him. He can just simply track him through. He's got that nice little logo above his head. Keep it at head height and plow him right through the wall. Very nicely done.
No hope there, unfortunately, for that NIP player to make it back inside. So the trades continue. Panbazou's going to have a tough battle coming his way in just a moment, though he realizes it might be a little bit too sketchy here, so he backs away. But DarkZero, continue to fall here as Pino finds a second frag. DarkZero trying to bring a more interesting take on this attack. Thought it was going to work out at first, but doesn't seem to be following through too well. Muzi with the next pickup here. Hyper finally swings into the balcony, but is also quickly shut down by Muzi as NIP take the first round.
Nicely done from Muzi with the 1.5. They're able to just slip right through the cracks in between the doors and send some shots down range. The way Ninjas in Pyjamas are going to pick up their very first round here on Cafe, and these defenses starting to come together. We saw the initial pick there from DarkZero, but Ninjas in Pyjamas fire back as well as start sending out a lot of their players out onto that cocktail side.
So we'll see here how the second round shapes up for the DarkZero roster. This will more likely go back to the standard method of attack for this second round coming up here for NIP. They're going to head down into the reading room and fireplace halls next. Also use the 6 pick here, bringing Cade into the mix for them, but other than that, a fairly standard composition to try and fend off the aggression that's going to be coming in here. Pino will be your on-site player for the most part, unloading that Alda when the time arrives. The Vigil, along with some of the other members, going to be a little bit more off-site, trying to put that early pressure on from the 3rd floor, as they'll more than likely set up the extension up there, as we have often seen.
Okay, while we're breaking all this stuff down, I honestly just want to ask you this. How surprised are you that Team 1 were able to beat CAG, and not only beat CAG, but they walked into the match knowing that if they got more than 2 rounds, that they're completely out of the tournament, and they achieved that. 7-2 victory on Consulate.
Not necessarily, as we're going to see though, that rematch still needs to happen. So,
tiebreaker, by the way.
Yeah.
The first one we've ever had in Rainbow Six Siege history.
That is more than likely, we don't have confirmation of this just yet, that is more than likely going to be happening over on our Bravo stream, but we will let you guys know, hopefully once that decision is finally made, what the plan is going to be to broadcast. As I know a lot of you at home are definitely going to be wanting to check that one out, as that has huge implications for this tournament, where like we said, this match unfortunately does not have that going for it here. This one's, for the most part, just for fun, and maybe some SI points for NIP.
Yeah, most definitely. This is just going to be something for, I'm going to try and see exactly what they can do up against each other, but again, just remember that those SI points do matter at the end of the day. That's the one thing here. But besides that point, DarkZero have finally achieved making it up to the top of this roof. Their best impression of bouldering inside of this cafe building. So now that they've gotten up here, they'll begin their drone spins and start getting them in towards this area. Julio, though, is already going to strike true with his Nitro Cell, taking down NJR. Don't exactly see where that ended up going down, but either way, that will be the loss of the air jab wielding Nomad.
Hyper continuing to work on the drone game here for the rest of DZ as they continue to clear things out for themselves. And NIP will also maintain their position. Sounds like an air jab going off over there, and it looks like it was, as BC is able to catch the player that tripped it up. That's Kamikaze going down. That's no slouch as far as the utility is concerned either. All 3 of the toxic vapes, those toxic gas grenades that Smoke brings with him, now goes down onto the ground with Kamikaze's death, and a huge amount of delay potential for NIP in the late round no longer exists.
Well, evening things out here in between these two. Obviously, the earlier loss of NJR cannot go unchecked, but we'll at least be able to pick up Kamikaze. And that is great. As John was talking about, not having that smoke utility, it's going to be impactful later on here. But Ninjas in Pyjamas, usually good for gunfights when it comes down to it. But this has just been one of those lands where it's just been very awkward to see what they're going to do. They've never really been able to get into their right mind, and to see if that's going to affect them here up against DZ. Speaking of DZ, BC specifically will be taking some heat as he's knocked down below 25 HP. DarkZero still trying to find an answer to this top floor hold, but they're starting to lose bodies. Eclipse swings into heaven, currently sitting on the plateau area. He'll possibly get something done here if he swings off the balcony. Panbazou will get the initial one. They're trying to find the frag, but oh, it's some beautiful shots from Psycho. He'll win it out with the SMG-12. You don't see that thing get used that often anymore. So, nice frag from him. Brings it down into a 2 versus 2.
Eclipse will continue to hold that position after trying to frag things out here. Good record built up by him so far, but the numbers getting low. DarkZone be careful with every step they take. Thankfully, it's a quick work to join up both Eclipse and BC and try to allow them both to carry on forward, further out and closer to the site. That default plant position just on the inside of Library. First attempt going to be made. No Nitro cell counter, but there is going to be a flank as Julio runs up. Muzi runs up, and Julio gets the final shot to finish off Eclipse. BC gets the case on the ground, but he's now locked inside of a cell with no easy way out. And he's not even going to be able to start that way, unfortunately. Muzi takes him down, and NIP claim a quick second.
Strong round there from Ninjas in Pyjamas, but even better from Muzi. Perfect timing there on the brown stairs rotate. It goes unchecked until the very last second from Eclipse. When he gets taken down, DarkZero down 0-2.
DarkZero struggling a little bit here, but again, keep in mind the very tricky situation that is currently put before DarkZero themselves here, considering the fact that their position in the group is already assured. There's a very good chance, as with a few of the other matches we've already played out today, they don't have really heavy implications being played into it. There's not really much incentive for DarkZero to play into this so heavily, such as reveal anything new they might have been saving for this tournament.
Yeah, we hate to be the bearer of bad news.
Yes, DarkZero and more than likely NIP as well, just as a result of the current standings and that NIP cannot go any further. These teams are probably going to play this as pretty straightforward as they can, so as not to give anything away.
As default can possibly get.
I think this is a good opportunity, right?
No,
Some people at home might not be happy with this. This is kind of a hardcore match. We might have some viewers out there that are newer to Siege. Let's try to enlighten them on a round-to-round basis here. Let's try to explain some newer mechanics for the folks at home, because I think this is a good game to do that.
Well, you know me, John. I love the nuances of Rainbow Six Siege. I'm always down to talk about that ad nauseum. So we'll have to see exactly what's going on with that. And we can actually start off already with this Mute, Mozzie, and Vigil combo as to why it's so very effective and as to why going forward, Mute's probably going to end up getting a nerf because he's so very potent. The biggest thing with this blend of operators is the fact that you have really, really good info denial, and info is the king of Rainbow Six Siege. For all of you that are a lot newer to it, you don't want to just be walking into a building without really knowing where the positioning of the defenders are, because that's how you end up getting these early picks, and DarkZero are obviously going to have to deal with that. The crazy thing about this setup as well for this operator lineup that they have is that it actually counters out quite a bit of utility from DZ. Not only the drones, but the Mute Jammers as well will actually turn off the Gemini if Hyper gets close enough with it.
So essentially it is perfect at denying most of the drone utility as well as, like we said, the Gemini utility that DarkZero would normally try getting in this first minute or two, making it a very annoying process and oftentimes forcing, in this case, DarkZero, whoever the attacker may be going up against this setup, to try and send their players in, which normally in a lot of other shooters you would expect that, but here, considering the low TTK, that often can be a very dangerous decision, as you might be walking right into someone who has their crosshair trained right over where your headshot's going to be, and that more than likely means death for the attackers in most situations, unless you have some absolutely insane aim.
And we can already see it working out here. Psycho's going to get his own drone, and he really doesn't even have to worry about moving it. That's another thing that obviously Mozzie gets with those pests, is when he does grab one of those drones, he actually gets to use it himself, but Psycho's not worried about that. Instead, he's worried about getting rid of all of this info utility because they don't know his positioning. The best way to explain this to you guys at home is that if 5 seconds passes and you haven't seen somebody, that information's useless now. That comm or whatever was said, no one's actually going to respect it, and that's how you get those, you know, those little weird moments that happen inside of your ranked games and stuff like that, where you called somebody 30 seconds ago and then you get yelled at because that guy all of a sudden, you know, oh, I don't know, has legs and can move. So, you know, it just becomes very frustrating sometimes. But either way, though, Ninjas in Pyjamas have legs, and they're going to start their rotations now. You can see they've actually all came to a single point inside of Dining, simply waiting for DarkZero to start pushing forward, but it's actually DarkZero to strike first, as they'll take down Pino.
You might have noticed there's not much that actually spurred NIP on to do that fallback itself, other than DarkZero slowly encroaching upon their positions and taking control. Keep in mind that the second floor position that NIP was fighting from is not the primary site position itself. That is purely a play to waste time on the overall round clock from DarkZero. We're on the minute-and-a-half mark. NIP made the call that they succeeded in that goal and are now falling back to secondary defensive positions inside of the site itself to play out this remaining minute on the clock. So far, doing a good job of that, but down a player, it is going to be a little bit tough, and those defenses will be stretched quite thin because they're going for a full floor hold right now.
Well, we'll try and get back into some more of the analysis after this round as well, folks. This is where the rubber hits the road, as we like to say. 40 seconds remaining, and that means something has to give for either side. And with only one body on the floor, being a Ninjas in Pyjamas member, that means DarkZero at full power. Doesn't mean Ninjas in Pyjamas can't fight back, though, and this is where this video game becomes interesting, specifically for me, because this is where all the action is inside this last minute. You can see Muzi trying to prevent anything from happening on Whiskey. He's going to start pushing the envelope, though. Decides to back off, but not before Panbazou takes down Kamikaze inside of VIP. Some nice shots back and forth. Panbazou get traded out here for Julio as Psycho will go down. 15 seconds remain for DarkZone to try and get something done. Julio with some beautiful shots. He'll knock down 2 with the SMG-11. Has the secondary shotgun, or primary shotgun, actually, with the M590 to take him down. But doesn't mean DarkZone can't try for this plant attempt. Muzi sitting inside of bunker right now. Can indeed prevent. It's 0-0. He's got to go find the head of this planter. Can he see it over the sink? He can. He'll be able to take down BC, but he'll be able to at least get the 1v2.
Oh
Julio moves in through the whiskey door. He'll take him down inside of that kitchen double. And wow, what a fantastic round there for Ninjas in Pajamas. They'll bring it back and keep DarkZone away from getting their first round.
And you could see there, despite the fact that they managed to win that one, they were very spread out and nearly lose it. It's only because of the heroics from Julio there. Once again, those SAS operator picks we keep bringing up there. That kid is so strong.
Dude,
between the SMG-11 and the M590. It continues to give us these amazing clutch plays, as we just saw there again from Julio, who picks up the quad kill. Arguably more important, though, his teammate also inside of there, making sure he shuts down the planter the moment the case goes on the ground.
All right, so let's get back into a little bit of this explanation as to the minutia of Rainbow Six Siege, because there's a lot of stuff that's going on. It's obviously not just like kills and utility. There's a bunch of different stuff going on. Like you were talking about in the last round there, John, time is a very big thing inside of this game as well. You know, DarkZone abide for map control that entire time there. They're able to get a lot of pressure, get the initial frag. But can you tell me why with 30 seconds remaining they still lose that round?
Well, I think it's just Julio more than anything. But
well, also Ninjas in Pajamas holding a lot of map control on the bottom floor that prevented DarkZone from actually pushing in. But yes.
See, this is why you're the color.
This
is why you're the color caster.
I love you so much, dude.
We are at a quick pause here, real quick, ladies and gentlemen. Here, I'm not gonna lie, I kind of like missed half the questions. I was looking at the operator picks, but anyway, taking a look here now. I believe this is a tactical from DarkZone, but we'll get confirmation of that in just a second here. Because obviously DarkZone having a really tough time. Like the
delay on those top 2 floors. They come down to dining. They're gonna drop down. They'll end up losing a singular member. But as I was talking about before, instead what they're gonna do is they're gonna hold map control on that bottom floor, wait for DarkZone to start pushing down, and try and choke them out around those staircases.
All right, guys, well, here we go. Another 3rd floor defense coming up for NIP here as they're going to re-attempt that site now that it has been unlocked for play. As a defender, you have the choice of site, but if you win it, it is locked away for 2 additional rounds before you can repeat it again. We just reached those 2 additional rounds after the last one was played, so NIP can now go back to the site, which they won back on the 1st round.
All right, well, Ninjas in Pajamas, an opportunity here to go up 4-0 against DZ, or will DarkZone finally get onto the board? Either way, I'll be really honest with you, I'm actually kind of enjoying this game right now. It's actually been pretty fun to talk to you guys about like the little things that go on inside of the game. And this is a perfect example of one of those defensive setups that we were talking about. Yes, there's reinforcements here, but they're going to put a hole through that wall and start adding some discs and other things around that are farther out into the room, because here's a big thing about Wamai as well in comparison to Jaeger. He actually burns the utility with the ADSs when they go off, but whereas Wamai, it actually captures it out of the air, pulls it to the disc, and then whatever it is goes off. You can have track stingers go off in random spaces. You can have Capitao bolts go off in random spaces. You know, he's a pretty interesting operator at the end of the day, and that's why, like, if you guys were watching earlier on the Chalet game, for the defensive setup that they put up at the top of the blue stairs, when the Wamai disc caught that grenade, it eliminated the rest of the utility around that shield, but just not the shield
itself. Yes. Because it was not close enough, unfortunately, for the damage to spread. Now, Wamai does create a bit of a double-edged sword in that you need to a little bit more carefully actually place those magnets if you put them in spots, you know,
as well as stay alive.
Yeah, as well as stay alive. You need to, obviously, if you put them directly in front of you, if a frag grenade comes, it's still going to, you know, magnet itself to right in front of you and still kill you. So, unlike the ADSs, which actually destroy the utility, you need to be a little bit more well planned out with your Wamai placements there. But obviously, at this level of competition, that is not much of an issue for our professional players. We got some of the members of DarkZone inserting themselves into the site in the meanwhile. Eclipse right now on this Jackal, trying to look with that scope. You might have just seen him take it off before he switched away. If he can see footsteps through that, and if he gets one of them, he can scan it and get a couple pings on one of the enemy players, potentially sussing out one of the more aggressive ones that we can see roaming around the map right now for NIP.
Yeah, at first I was like, oh, feet, as a joke, right? But bro, I don't really think it's a joke anymore.
It's more the like dirt trail left from the feet. But
the shoes are so unbelievably dirty that you can actually just track them straight to their location.
No one's heard of a welcome mat in this universe, apparently.
I guess not. And if they did, I mean, there is one in this game, but it happens to snap on your legs and you get down. So not very welcoming at the end of the day. Kind of misleading there. But NJR is going to go down a little bit earlier on, guys. Those air jabs will be sorely missed from DarkZone, but they're still watching the staircases, and that's a good thing. That's the biggest thing when it comes to these maps as well, is you're going to have things happen like this, with Eclipse. Just going to rotate over, hold on to the white staircase, wait for somebody to try and make a play. It's going to work out for him. He'll take down Psycho on white stairs. Panbazou going to push it even further, taking down Pino, and Kamikaze will lose his life inside a cigar as well.
This is a much more slow and measured approach coming out here from DarkZero. Much heavier use of the drone intelligence to figure out where NIP is and move in with a precision strike to knock those players out and not give them a chance to react. Trades are coming in from NIP, as we just saw there from Muzi, but only to a small degree right now. Julio as well in a very aggressive position here, all the way up against the bomb chassis. Prime with a nitro cell, ready to chuck one out, but unfortunately no one in range for that, so it's going to be some time before he can really get good deployment upon that. The rest of DarkZero now swinging to the inside of Cigar here, where Muzi tries to challenge from the bunker setup and bathroom, but loses far too much HP. Immediately has to fall back over to Cocktail, and that puts the pressure on to Julio now, who's ready to fend off the first bits of aggression, but makes the mistake of thinking it would only be one player. Hops over the edge, gives his back away to a member of DarkZero, goes down. Muzi, there's no chance for him to retrieve it, and as we see, DarkZero clean up to finally get their first round.
Really strong round there from DarkZero, and again presenting us new stuff to talk about. So let's talk about some of this control here. Very interesting stuff as DarkZero end up taking map control in a very casual way, but the thing is that we obviously get to talk about it a little bit further because of the circumstances inside of the map. So the cool thing that comes through with Rainbow Six Siege in general, the way that the game works, obviously, is the verticality comes into play. So the big thing here for DarkZero is they have to make sure that there's nobody operating on that mid floor at risk of nitro cells fending them off, which could end up with Ninjas in Pyjamas obviously going up inside of man count. You really don't want that. Usually you'll end up seeing some drones around that train area here inside a cafe. They like to hide them up on top of that, but there's so many cheeky spots. I mean, I swear, every single time that we watch professional play, there's some new drone spot that I've never seen before in my entire life, and I've played this game for 6 years. So, like, it's always something new with these guys. They're always trying to find something, but either way, DarkZero with really solid map control. Ninjas in Pyjamas not really able to muster anything. We did see that rotation to try and handle some of that mid control, but DarkZero was better in the situation. And again, that kind of map control is exactly what you need, propelling yourself forward through the round.
So DarkZero finding success for the first time inside of this match. We'll see if it can continue, as there's still a potential for them to come back and absolutely tie up this matchup right now at a 3-3 scoreline. See if that's in the cards for them, though. Certainly a strong adjustment, but also a new site to play into, as NIP have gone downstairs once again, feeling that that third floor went a little bit too one-sidedly in the favor of DarkZero. I would certainly agree. What do we got going on here with the setup? It's called out to you.
Oh, okay. So so they impacted two things here. They impacted one of the mini bars as well as the main bar for the actual long area. And what that does is going to allow the Banshee to actually use its radius throughout that. So that entire side that we call Psycho, because Psycho used to play there all the time and just click everyone's heads on Skylight, it's going to make it to where you really can't move through that space without getting read out from one of those Banshees. We like to call them wub-wubs because of how loud they are, and that's going to be obviously a call sign for Ninjas in Pyjamas to know that there's a DarkZero member in the area, and more than likely going to be a possible frag coming in for them as well. And speaking of frag grenades, those are going to start to get used, and they're going to hit their mark as well. Not on a Muzi, but onto those. Actually, did it get both of them there? Can we go back there? I think it got both the Banshees. It did. One frag grenade, both Banshees, 2 birds, 1 stone.
Perfect stuff there from DarkZero. Definitely improving the performance after what we saw in the first 3 rounds here so far. Wait to see if that carries through in the frag department, though. The last round it certainly did. This one's asking a little bit more in terms of the amount of clearing that DarkZero need to do before they can actually commit themselves to a push. And it all starts with the play up here. You can see the setup from NIP already. Muzi being the first one to meet one of the drones from DarkZero and have himself revealed, but there are 2 others, excuse me, 3 others, as there's a 4-man commitment right now from NIP. I missed the Maestro over there in the inside of Cocktail. So a lot to deal with here for DZ. One player did look like they just rotated back downstairs there, but still quite a bit to knock out of the way.
Yeah, if we turn the silhouettes off for the bomb chassis right now, you would assume that it's a top floor defense, but that is surely not the case. It will adjust a few bodies down low, though, as DarkZero is going direct, and that's the biggest thing here. We talked about the map control before. DarkZero is simply going to hold on to Christmas up top so nobody can rotate across to try and get down red stairs or anything like that, so they just cut the map right there. You don't need any extra map control on top unless you want to try and clear across, but they don't need to because they're going for dining, which has no verticality to it at all. It's actually all concrete. It's what Panbazou is standing on right now. They'll be able to get the frag onto Psycho, so that's going to clear up some of this utility as well as a player up top. But besides that, Panbazou still looking for more. Doesn't really have to go any farther, though. DarkZero still figuring things out down low, and Ninjas in Pyjamas need to find an answer to this, but it seems like it's going to be aggression as Muzi swings into Pillar and takes out Eclipse.
Panba's upstairs position certainly powerful right now. It is completely restricting any aggressive movements from NIP through the white stairs, which is the one that they control on this side of the map here. For DarkZero, though, still needs to make a lot of forward momentum, and as we see here, a couple more breaches before before they're going to feel comfortable pushing their way into the site. And they only have 30 seconds to at least start the plant procedure for themselves. 2 big pickups from NIP though. Hyper finds a trade. In fact, 2 as he takes out both Pino and Kamikaze, bringing us to an even battle yet again. Muzi though, trying to sneak upstairs for an angle that could win them the round if he takes this fight, but at the same time, he's missed the chance. His opponent has dropped down. However, another angle opening up. Still a lot of play potential for Muzi here as he holds that very important upstairs position. Hyper, though, takes out his only other teammate holding control of the site as he single-handedly dominates things on this round for DarkZero. Muzi, does he have the angle to play into this? Trying to play it up on top. Now going for the breach that DarkZero themselves made. Oh my goodness! I thought he was going to miss that one for a moment there, but at the last minute gets the spray needed to deny the plant and pick up the 4th round for NIP.
Super unfortunate stuff there for DarkZero. The initial plays for Dyna, they start breaking things up over there, but they never actually go for it. Just simply sitting inside of the 90 for Red Hall and trying to see if they can get any more frags into these DarkZero members. Very lackluster offense from him here, and Muzi's going to punish them for a mishap with the wall as well. They end up blowing that to try and see if they can find anybody inside of reading, but it's played back through by the defense to win them the round. Fantastic stuff there from Muzi, and now it's 4-1 lead here for Ninjas in Pyjamas.
NIP rebounding very quickly after that single successful round from DarkZero attacking the 3rd floor hold. A little bit of a 6-pick going to come in here from NIP. Not really an earth-shattering one, as it just changes a Jaeger over towards a Maestro. So DarkZero will be expecting a little bit more aggressive positioning, but for the most part, they will also pretty quickly read into Psycho's changeup, as we'll be playing into a predictable position behind the reinforced wall at the top right side of your screen. Away from that, there will be a lot of the same. We do have a Castle barricades, or Castle himself with his barricades, being brought in here by Pino to make the job of accessing mainly Cigar as well as some of the downstairs positions a bit more of an arduous task here for DarkZero, just trying to waste more and more of that time by adding additional obstacles for the team.
Yeah, all it is layers. That's how you can look at Rainbow Six Siege. All of these operators just provide a new layer of utility, and if you play the proper operators, then it's going to be something that might work better than others, obviously. So that's just kind of what you're looking into. Those synergized operators, kind of like the Mute Mozzie combo that we were talking about earlier, they tagged Vigil on top of that because the less drones that you have, the more potent he is. That ERC-7 backpack can hide him from drones, but it isn't infinite. So being able to limit their drone potential overall makes Vigil an even better operator when it comes down to it. So you have little cool things happen like that. But now that we are actually into the round, we always have to wait for DarkZero to hit the roof first, because that's just how Cafe works. They'll begin breaking down these hatches. Oh, well,
not that.
that was such a good noise. That was like a happy noise right there.
That's LAN hammer like MOV right there. So for those who don't know, the LAN and actual like retail clients that you guys at home play on are 2 completely separate things. So the reason why he probably made that mistake right there is usually a little bit of a delay when you're playing on the normal client of those hammer swings, but on LAN it's like a completely different beast and how it reacts.
You have to relearn Sledge on LAN.
You have to react to the swings a little bit differently, and obviously the member of DarkZero right there, Eclipse, just messed it up a little bit. Doesn't affect anything in the overall round, but it's a good laugh.
If you guys are ever inside of a professional player, a professional player's stream or anything like that, always ask them what their favorite thing that they've seen on LAN is for the LAN client. Because there has been so many stories over the years of like crazy stuff that has had to get fixed and all that kind of stuff. But either way, I mean, it's really cool when it comes down to it. Ninjas in Pyjamas playing forward here once again inside of the bunker setup forward bathroom, having impacts on Muzi, so he'll be able to deal with the air jabs that come towards him on white, and that'll make it to where he can swing this door. That's why he's just holding on to these for the time being. He'll be able to play back and forth here like we've seen him do prior. Worried about somebody on stage, but he's going to take a lot of heat, and that's going to get him to back off here and give up this area.
All right, coming down to the last minute of the round here, and DarkZero once again faced with a very, very large amount of work to do here. They have gotten the initial access in towards Cigar for themselves. We can even see Panba has cleared out the bunker setup. Over on the inside of Bathroom, a good opening kill finally shows up here too, just as we eclipse the first minute, or the last minute of the round, taking down Pino and the castle that comes along with it. Muzi also took quite a bit of damage himself. Still is going to be alive in this situation here as DarkZero look for their opportunity to execute, but have yet to find it.
Well, with only 40 seconds remaining, you guys know what time it is. There has to be forward movement here from DarkZero, which means that the frags need to come in. They've only been able to negotiate for Pino, but Muzi obviously taking some heat, like we talked about earlier, inside of that bathroom position. Hyper will end up ending 1 life here, but not before BC shoots him right in the back of the head. That was a mishap there. He's going to apologize for that, but he still needs to at least get this case down. Julio will go down, and so will the rest of everybody else. All they need is a Panbazou, and that's going to be an easy frag for them.
So, ladies and gentlemen, we are going to go into a very quick pause here because we have some housekeeping to do, but it's very important housekeeping. If you're currently watching that tiebreaker stream, go ahead over to the Alpha stream at twitch.tv/Rainbow6, as that's where you can watch that very exciting matchup that is getting started right now. However, for us, we go back into the game of DZ versus NIP and continue the action.
I've never been a professional player, but somehow I got relegated. I don't know how this works, but we got sent on over to the B stream, but it's perfectly fine. Our British friends have been handling this one for quite some time, so it's good for us to take a seat over here, get on the back burner, hang out for a little while, and see what DarkZero and Ninjas in Pyjamas have to do for the rest of this cafe. But once again, guys, remember, that main stream is going to have the tiebreaker between T1 and Cyclops. That's a game that you're going to want to see. Again, I will reinstate it. I know we just said it a million times.
Don't you people have 2 monitors?
But don't you people have phones? Like, use something here. Come on, anything. You can watch it on your fridge. I know one of you has a smart fridge.
I know you got 2 sides of 1 monitor, and that could fit 2 videos in it. So what are you doing if you're not watching both of these streams? But yeah, a big shout out to the UK boys that have been holding up over on the Bravo stream all week here. We're gonna take it over for a little bit, let them have some time in the limelight there, and as well that very exciting match. Incredibly jealous that they get to cast that one. But hey,
I really am. You know,
it's going to be a good one. Go watch it.
It is, but hey, you know what? You guys are going to have to deal with us filthy Americans here for a while.
But we're having fun over here in the
we're
meanwhile. Like we said, if you weren't watching at the very beginning of this matchup, we did explain already that there is unfortunately no in-tournament contention between these 2 teams anymore. NIP is unfortunately already eliminated. They cannot save themselves. DarkZero is already going through, and their position in the group is already locked in. There's no way that can change between this matchup and the next. However, NIP still has the potential to gain some SI points if they're able to guarantee themselves a certain position in the group. There is a lot of complicated statistics involved in that, so we're not going to go too in-depth. We'll leave that to the analyst desk after this game and getting prepared to jump into the next one to explain the details on that.
Thank you for rounding that up, John. I really do appreciate it. But now we've got you guys on board for what's been going on here, and just to let you know what kind of happened for the initial half in between these 2. Ninjas in Pyjamas have been very solid on their defense as well as their map control during that time. DarkZero able to get a couple of big frags that really influenced the rounds that they were able to muster, but besides that, it's been Ninjas in Pyjamas winning a lot of these things through frag potential, but also a clutch round coming through on reading, where we saw an oversight from DarkZero inside of their 2 versus 1.
Panbazou waiting in that aggressive position here for the first bits of aggression to come through, and actually going to change up his position to a less predictable one. I say less predictable, but we do sometimes see this played out quite often. That deployable shield serves a double purpose. He can hide behind it, but at the same time doesn't want to reveal himself to the window that's a little bit further up on your screen over in the corner of the building there, so he plays on the other side of it to some extent as well. NIP's focus, though, right now is mainly on opening up these top-down angles. Mainly, that's Pino's job on the sledge, as he's essentially an infinite number of swings on that hammer there to open up all of this flooring and potentially make it a much easier job to either force the DarkZero members out of the site or outright kill them.
Please don't bait, sir. It's 25 charges, okay? 25
That's why
charges
I
on the
did
hammer.
say virtually infinite. Like, when have we ever seen someone run out of the hammer swings, right? Like,
you want to dry run real quick? I can run out of the hammer really fast. But no, never inside of a match have I ever seen actually anyone run out of charges on that hammer. It's just such an absurd amount, but that's exactly what you would expect from a sledgehammer. Oh, Pino, very nice frag grenade coming in. Obviously not from that site that we saw from, excuse me, Kamikaze actually, working that verticality there, being able to get that stun grenade down into the laser gate and disable that. So DarkZero end up losing BC, but very minimal time now for Ninjas in Pyjamas to get into sight.
NIP continuing to hold on to their position, and in the meanwhile, unfortunately will lose their first player on the midst of this round here. DarkZero finally battling it back a little bit, evening us back up into a 4v4. And now NIP are out of time here. They need to swing downstairs here, and unfortunately have not been able to get the intel or the control they would want before committing to that. So they're going to go through the barbed wire, try to push onto the site, but I mean, you guys can probably see it for yourself. They just have no positioning to really play off of. They're not even close. DarkZero will handily win that round and take control of one for themselves.
Yeah, quite a similar round to what we saw from Ninjas in Pyjamas on their defense of this exact same site. Ninjas in Pyjamas takes a very long time clearing out the 2 initial floors, and ending up losing a body at pretty low time. It's going to slow them down just a touch, and then once they go downstairs, DarkZero just have so much control across that entire bottom floor that they simply have to try and funnel in down the staircases, and it does not work. Way too many DZ members in the area, and all of the gunfights go their way.
So as a result of that, we'll see DarkZero continue to close the gap between them and the current NIP scoreline at 3-4 right now. Only 1 round away from tying it up. 6 picks going to come in once again for both squads. Not a real huge change up for the DZ rosters. They're just going to bolster their anti-drone capabilities by bringing a Muzi into the fold here. And as well, Psycho going to change out the Zofia for a Ying, adding a bit more of that explosive execute potential with those Candelas, which send out pretty much infinite flashbangs to the area.
Right, well, these are Pyjamas. Have to try and find an answer for these defenses. DarkZero will obviously be going to a new spot here. Is me defending the top floor now. They have a Rooney inside of this lineup. They do indeed, so we will see the castle barricades stacked with that just to make it more difficult to clear that overall. That's actually going to be on two separate sides here. This one a little more awkward, I'll be honest with you, as it will be on the back end, but obviously it's going to work in very similar ways. Actually going to end up putting all of those on the windows instead of the castle barricade there for the double. So it's just going to make managing these window games for Ninjas and Pyjamas quite difficult, as when it comes to Christmas, you're always going to have people repelling on these, specifically Ticket, as well as the South Stage window. Very, very important.
The DarkZero roster here, closing out this round, is going to serve as big importance for them. As NIP will inch very, very close to victory. If not to mention, of course, once again, trying to still maintain the lead over the DZ roster itself. But DZ has found some solid footing off of what we've seen only in the very first round of this defense, too, completely zoning out NIP, not even letting them get on the same floor as the site by the time ran out on the inside of that last round there. So a lot of work still to do here for the NIP attack. If they want truly to find success here, push themselves those 3 more rounds further that they need to claim this map and this match.
All right, well, Ninjas and Pyjamas are beginning to dissect this top floor and see what DarkZero's doing. It looks to be the rush strat as the Candelas flood in from both sides. They're going to take over Cocktail here, but actually isn't able to get through the rotate as of right now. Muzi will take down NJR. The Shadow will give away the Ying as BC will rip the head off of them. Those ones outside on the balcony as well, but not able to get the shots to land. In trouble from behind long bar. Kamikaze will win out that fight as DarkZero's looking worse for wear going into this. Kamikaze floods right into the back of Cocktail here, starts his plan up as Ninjas and Pyjamas are waiting on DarkZero to try and rotate back in. Hyper will get 1, but Muzi in a cheeky spot on Trash will be able to get 2, making a triple for him on the round. Can he get the quad? Has the gunfight, but doesn't even need it. Kamikaze from Cocktail will take him down, and the rush strat will work out for Ninjas and Pyjamas.
And NIP basically replied to the answer on the last round there. They say, okay, you guys want to play hyper passive? You guys want to sit in your setup and think you're all cozy? Cool, we're going to rush you. And it works out pretty dang well for the NIP roster there. The Skylight Hop, usually a death sentence for anyone who attempts it, makes it work out there for NIP as they take control of a 5th.
Well, it's the last thing they're going to expect, right? As it usually fails.
Especially in this situation.
Especially with those smokes going down either. You just chuck Candelas and jump down the Skylight. That's always such a scary thing to do. My favorite Skylight clip of all time is Iconic from Disrupt. It's happened like 2 years ago. And he's playing Monty, and he just jumps in, plants the case inside of smoke. And by the way, he's just blaring music the entire time.
He starts banging his head and everything.
And like, here's the best part. He repels back out of the Skylight, guys. He repels back outside. And it works! They win the round! It's one of the dumbest things I've ever seen in my life, but I love David so much for that clip, because it's just something special. But either way, though...
Someone send it to us so we can retweet it real quick.
Yeah, oh, dude, don't worry. They're going to be on that one. Somebody's got that thing saved 100%. But either way, though, we're 15 seconds away from getting back into the action here. DarkZero going to reading and dining for this defense, trying to muster something here after that rush round from Ninjas and Pyjamas. And they're going to continue to change things up as well, as Psycho will bring in Monty, just like we were talking about with that clip.
All right, well, let's see here if they're going to bring that crazy play to the table that we saw from Iconic. Certainly not, considering the environment we are currently in, but also considering this match does not have a whole lot of implications to it. Anything is really possible as far as NIP wants to play this.
As long as you put your imagination.
I mean, truly it is.
I mean, just ask APAC. I mean, how long? It wasn't that long ago they were like, oh, the APAC play style, so aggressive, how dare you? And now we're all like, dude, APAC is fantastic. All those players are cracked. Every single one of them. But either way, Ninjas and Pyjamas finally make their way to the roof of Cafe. They'll begin breaking up these hatches, as well as focusing on Christmas. Need to begin their clear here, get some pressure around the area and get some semblance of information as to what DarkZero's overarching strategy is. And, well, double SAS operators more than likely playing a little bit closer to the chest in this one, all except for this top floor defense, obviously. The double shields here from Goyo are going to be quite assisting as well. And that's something that's very unique to him. Has changed up quite a bit of the defensive meta when it comes to these positions. Simply because, like I said, he gets 2 deployable shields. They are explosive, but he carries more of that utility than anybody else on defense. So it's very, very important.
All right, so for NIP, not seeing that straightforward hop in. Instead, the Montaigne being used a lot more strategically this time around for NIP. They've already ventured forth with all the soft breach they brought to the table into the freezer, taking a dangerous amount of control away for the DarkZero roster here. Panba still trying to play into aggressive positions up here on the 3rd floor. Does have support, but it's on the other side of the hallway, so it would normally come in a post-mortem sense in the event that he should fail to win his initial duel. Muzi, though, starting to clear out those players sitting on the other side. They might be forced down through the support hatch in just a moment here if they're not careful, because that Montaigne is swinging his way all the way up Whitehall right now. He had a supporting player with him, but no! Psycho gonna have to try and do it with his gun instead.
Oh, what is
it's
going
so chaotic
on?
as Panba ends up accidentally knocking out Eclipse after he saves Eclipse's life, taking down the Monty.
That was the worst scenario for DarkZero there. They have really got to stop stacking and shooting each other in the back of the head. This is getting to the point of just being absurd.
Am I wrong to say like the large majority of team kills I've seen have been from NA teams?
Yeah, don't say that.
Right? It's like I'm only just noticing that now. But I am noticing it.
Statistics you shouldn't say on air. You can tell me this after. Don't make me hate myself
Maybe I'm
now.
wrong. Maybe I'm
You're
wrong.
not wrong. That's the bad part. I know for a fact that you're not wrong. Oh, man. Either way, though, Ninjas in Pyjamas have 20 seconds remaining. Obviously, they've lost their shield player. That doesn't mean that they can't get this done instead of the 4 versus 2. They just need to find a home for this case, and that's what they're trying to figure out now. NGR, though, he's seemingly aware of this. He's going to play very forward here. The shotgun going to assist him and immediately downs. The other player trying to stack up on top of him, knows where the other one is. That range on the M590.
He just has to chill now, that's it.
Oh my! Can he get it from above? I don't think that he can!
Oh! NJR does it again, ladies and gentlemen, as the big clutch comes out from DarkZero, and they take another round for themselves, sending us into the 10th round with still a close matchup between these two teams.
I need to see this one right here. How much health was on Muzi in that? Wow, the pellet luck on that. I just want to remind you guys that when it comes to the M590 and the shotguns in this game, that the pellets are random. The count is the same, but obviously with how shotguns work in real life with pellets, the spread is going to be slightly different depending on whenever you shoot. It's just how it happens. So, to be honest with you, he got pretty damn lucky when it comes down to it on that shot.
I think he might have had a TCSG slug hiding in there or something.
Yeah, just
we gotta get the admins to check the equipment real quick.
Yeah, guys, just got 00 buckshot, just like what is one slug in there, just waiting for anybody to creep up on him. But either way, that's going to be the round there for DarkZero off the back of NJR's efforts, and he's been having a heck of a land, so that's honestly to be expected.
DarkZero inching closer as these teams have gone back into the seesaw that we've seen from so many of our other matches here today. And what is that from Eclipse? I just noticed that.
What? I'm sorry, I was looking down.
Look!
What is it?
He's got the shotgun.
Oh yeah, so they actually buffed it recently.
Oh, okay.
I believe it got a couple of new scopes, but the other thing here is that, John, we were just talking about slugs. This is a drum-fed shotgun that has slugs. That's what this thing is. So when they initially put it in, I was like, this thing could be pretty cool depending on what they do with it, but it was kind of crap, I'll be honest with you guys. The damage just wasn't there how you really wanted it to be, but they've buffed it recently, and we've seen a couple people at LAN here use it specifically, but here's my argument. Alda. That's my
why I
argument.
was like, why are you using the shotgun when the Alda exists?
Listen, they hated Jesus because he was correct, but I'm just saying. Like, the Alda's great, man. You have to use the 81. It's a little biased, but I'm just saying, I don't know if I'm a believer of the drum-fed shotgun yet. I don't know.
Well, we'll see what DarkZero can leverage with it as Eclipse clearly wants to have a little bit of fun on the inside of this round. Honestly, I can see it working out considering we're on a kitchen defense here. There's a lot of tough corners that he could just slap himself into, where NIP are going to have a really tough time pushing him out if that shotgun is as strong as Stokes just explained it now with the buff coming in. So we'll see that in the next few moments here. How exactly DarkZero are able to leverage that, potentially give them an advantage on the inside of this round. For NIP, though, it's the slow roll as usual. Focusing on the drone work, DarkZero have committed themselves to a horizontal take, so we got about a minute and a half of a whole lot of nothing here, unfortunately, as NIP gets that free clear of the 2nd and 3rd floors. They obviously don't know that it's a free clear, but they still have to be careful taking that extra time to make sure with their drones that there's no one lurking around from DZ.
Absolutely. It's all about maintaining control of these top 2 floors and reinforcing that with the air jabs on the stairwells. You don't want any of these DZ members allowed to try and rotate up behind you while you're working all of these angles, because you guys will see later on, once they've broken up a lot of the stuff in train and mining, I mean, there's just an absurd amount of things that you have to manage. You can already see it starting right now. There's only 3 holes that are set up, and it's at 1:20 as we sit. By the time this is over, it's going to look like extreme home makeovers inside of this area.
So we'll see here now. Is Psycho still alive? I don't even know where he is right now.
He didn't know where he was.
We go blind, he goes blind, but apparently he comes out seeing the kill against NJR as he fails to hold on the inside of Coach Check right there. Psycho barely surviving that, to be honest, so he will have to rotate back outside very quickly to take up a new position as he only has a tiny sliver of HP remaining.
Yeah, Psycho's third eye open for that one, because I was blinded with my 2.
I thought he like jumped back out at first, that's how he survived, but apparently not.
Oh, well, we're not going to see the slug shotgun here, my friend. Apologies on that. Psycho will get his second one of the round. Pino going to double down on that, and probably another kill coming through here, but obviously Psycho cannot push the envelope as he's very low HP, but Panbazou definitely can. Instead, though, he's going to hop right back into Coach Check because Hyper's taking a lot of heat inside of sight. He's adjusted over to Rice. He has the possibility of getting the entry here, but Kamikaze swings it for the flawless round, and Ninjas and Pyjamas jet forward ahead once again.
DarkZone tries to have a little bit of fun with that round and clearly pays the price for it as NIP are deadly serious about their assault, working their way in incredibly quickly, starting off with that wild push into Coach Check and following it through with a very quick small bait push that completely deteriorates the DarkZone defenses. Match point now for NIP. Still best of ones, of course, here in the groups if you haven't been following the rest of it. So one more round is all NIP need to clean this one up, claim victory, and inch closer to getting to that point where they will be able to gain the potentially the SI points necessary to qualify for that event coming up in the future.
Well, it's going to be a bar cocktail defense here for DarkZone for their possible last round here on Cafe. Possibly the last time we get to see Ninjas in Pyjamas as well, sadly. So Psycho got a 6 pick off of Zofia here, but what is he choosing? He's been picking so many different operators today. Is he just going to simply sit on the Zofia? No, he's not. He's going to bring in the Twitch.
Seeing a lot of teams bring in the Twitch towards the late portions of the game here, in part due to the proficiency of the F2, but also can find quite a bit of usefulness out of the Twitch drone if you can sneak it in there. A lot of teams have had problems dealing with the utility setup, and the Twitch drone is oftentimes a sneaky way to try and deal with that.
Yes, indeed, as well as some new things coming to Twitch. And the biggest thing to stand out here, and the reason why you guys are seeing Twitch a little bit more often inside of the meta, is because of her secondary utility. She has smoke, so that just makes it where you can work her in, especially when you're not trying to use Thermite as your hard breach. Thermite's downfall is that he has to walk up to the wall to get his task done, whereas all of the other hard breachers, besides Maverick, obviously, can do it from range. And so in order to try and give him a little bit of a boost, they took the smokes away from Ace and gave it to Thermite just so that you could have that. But in order to get some other smokes, you have to look to other operators. Twitch is one, as well as Jackal that we see very often inside of that slot. But either way, some other cool stuff coming to Twitch in the future that's currently on the TTS. If you guys do enjoy Rainbow Six Siege, make sure to download that if you do play on PC, because you get to test out all of the new stuff before every console peasant. It's fantastic. So the good news is that Twitch is getting a buff, and it's going to be to her drones. The craziest thing about it is it's basically infinite range on the Twitch drones right now. I don't know if they're going to change that up at all, but I can tell you that we're seeing some crazy clips, especially from your boy Roy, if you guys have seen any of his Twitch drone trick shots today on cameras across a myriad of different maps. So we'll see what they want to do with that in the future, but definitely go check that out. But we're still inside of this round as things are starting to ramp up. We're about 45 seconds in here. Ninjas in Pyjamas getting set up for Christmas. They're going to take up NJR as his position has already been exposed inside a cigar.
About a minute gone from the round here. DarkZone still continue to wait out very patiently, but not so passively, as we saw at least on their last third floor hold here. They extended positions out into both the cigar small room as well as the lane cigar with the Christmas tree inside of it there. Going to cause some issues for NIP trying to take this initial control, which normally they haven't had much of an issue taking cigar here. So DarkZone trying to get directly in the way, even putting the laser gates on the repelled window to try and slow down the process even further for Psycho and the rest of NIP. JR will get spotted out in just a moment by that first bit of a drone. In fact, it actually went by him, so I think that drone...
They just know he's there, like, let's be honest. They don't need to see him. Like,
the drone did do a little double take, though. As you saw, I was like, huh? Did I just see a deployable shield there?
We know it's you, Mr. Krabs. Give it up. Like, you know, so that's basically what it is. It's like, where else is he going to be in there? This entire setup was meant for him to hold down this area, and oh my goodness. Looks like NJR end up using that toxic smoke to its fullest potential. He'll take down Muzi. Ends up getting down, but he is inside of Hut. Safe area if that hatch is open, but obviously not. Kamikaze be able to clean that up. They're obviously going to know that, as well that he's inside of Cigar now, since he was able to clean up that kill. Ninjas in Pyjamas with a staging ground to propel themselves forward.
Pino, oh, I don't even know if Pino was expecting to get anyone on that one there, but chucks a nade, lands perfectly on top of Hyper, continues to deteriorate the defensive numbers available here for DarkZone. But Panba, young member here for DZ, gonna start to fight back a little bit as he takes out Pino.
Ooh.
BC jumping in as well, even as Panba gets himself hit by an air jab. It matters not, as Psycho now left alone here in the 1v3, only to fall into the hands of Eclipse yet again, as he mops up the last kill of the round, and DarkZero will hold on for at least one more.
Well, it would be Ninjas in Pajamas at this LAN if we didn't somehow almost get to overtime. So we're going to go to
it wouldn't be DarkZero at this point.
yeah, you got me there, didn't you? Okay, you
At least
win
as far
this
as the NAL
round.
is concerned.
How much do I owe you? 10, 20? I don't really know.
Nah, just give me a quarter.
Oh, okay, fair enough, fair enough. Either way, DarkZero going to push us to the maximum that regulation has to offer here. Going to be changing up sites, obviously, as that successful defense of the top floor goes off without a hitch. Obviously, a few bumps in the road, losing some members, but the overarching strategy will work out for them. So now they're going to be going to the mid floor here, and some adjustments coming in from Ninjas in Pajamas. They want to make DarkZero second guess, so they're going to pick the Lion first, then 6 pick off of that into the Monty, and try and see if Psycho can possibly muster them around off of this play.
DarkZero, it's now a must to pick up this play in winning fashion for themselves here. We're going to see a bit of an extension on their site play as well. We're going to head over to the mining and dining sites for DZ's final regulation round defense here. And they need to close it out as NIP pushed ahead earlier on. They still sit in that match point position. This will be their second attempt now to close it down. And if they succeed in doing so, this will lead to the end of the match regardless. And NIP will get those very important points. Important to note as well here as far as them trying to maintain a high position in this group, even if it isn't within the top 2. Obviously, if this goes to overtime, less points going their way, and potentially, possibly less SI points they get at the end of this tournament as well. So winning regulation right now is actually very important for NIP.
Again, when he was talking about this thing being complicated earlier, he was not wrong.
There's a lot of plays, so I don't want to go too deep into it. Like I said, we're going to leave that for the analyst desk.
Yes.
Because they're the experts. We're just casters.
And not only that, they have infinite time to talk about analyst stuff. We're not analysts, we're casters. We cast things. So, round now started here for Ninjas in Pajamas as they'll be out and onto the field. Just remember, guys, this is our last round inside of regulation here, so Ninjas in Pajamas still have the opportunity to win this just with this round, ending us 7-5 here on Cafe. Again, with the 6th pick here into the Monty, so we'll see if this gets some more longevity here inside of this round, because Psycho not been able to really get too much done when it comes down to these plays so far. We saw a pick earlier that happened, but it was actually in favor of DarkZero. The only issue was that he stacked on top of each other and actually ended up trading each other out instead of using that pick to their advantage. So we'll see if something similar happens again.
njr is going to spot this Monty push in just a moment here. Psycho will be wielding it yet again to move right forward. And this is what's great about the Monty. You're basically invulnerable from the front side unless someone's got a Nitro cell to throw at you. So Psycho going to be able to move forward. He's checking that corner out just to make sure here, as we can see that Alibi inching just close enough, or at least as NJR thought, close enough to try and get the knife swing out. A little bit too far range for that, however. So we'll still maintain this spot, try to survive until later in the round. But it's looking like Pino going to fall first here as the aggression weighs out behind that shield. I believe Pino was supporting the push from the Monty, and now Panba will take him out.
We've been talking about this a decent bit when it comes to this LAN and what happens with Monty. End up going down a gun, but has a possibility here to get the pistol whip. Kamikaze will at least get one, but also the manage here by NJR. Has to constantly go back and forth with the shield, and this is the most problematic thing, trying to deal with the Monty without 2 people, and that's why they have Panbazou rotate up white. DarkZero making a heck of a run here at the last round, and it looks like it's going to work out for them. It's Muzi instead of a 1 versus 4, and if I got to say it myself, it looks like we're going to overtime.
Yeah, I think that's a pretty safe bet at this point here for Muzi, stuck in a 1v4. Oh my goodness, no intel to act off of, and we can see that coming in there as NJR just swoops right down for, I believe, a quad on the round. Beautiful stuff from NJR. Definitely the most standout player at this LAN from DarkZero, and a huge piece of what's been allowing them to excel so much here to push out of the group in such a strong position.
Yeah, I have been absolutely eating up his play. NJR has just looked like an entirely different version of himself at LAN, and this is something that we see happen sometimes with players, John. Sometimes players online aren't the same players they are on LAN. When those shots are 1-to-1 truly, I mean, that can make a very big difference, even when ping is down to like 20. And you also have to remember that for us inside of North America, obviously, we are indeed on LAN, so has a little bit of extra experience with this going on as well, and that's something that NA offers. It's also pretty cool.
I think that was like a big question coming into this LAN, is whether the fact that NA has been playing on LAN now for like 7 or 8 months at a minimum was going to be any sort of advantage. I would honestly say, across the board, Not really.
I was going to say, ask the Sonics and see how they feel about that.
Because it's not conclusive. You could argue it for some teams like DarkZero, but I would generally trend towards the no side of that answer based on what we've seen just looking at the whole region at this event so far.
Yeah, I would say that it doesn't seem like it has the effectiveness that anyone thought that it was going to.
Yeah.
Especially when you take APAC teams and what things they have to play on sometimes. Like, I have seen some absurd numbers over the years from people screenshotting, like, actual games and stuff like that where people are playing on pings of, like, 80 plus and stuff just because they have to try and, you know, play with each other across the country and stuff like that. It's just very, very difficult for them. But either way, though, we have reached overtime here, folks. And just as a quick reminder for those of you at home that don't know how our overtimes work, it's a best of 3 rounds, and they're going to switch sides every single time. So DarkZero has 2 attempts at defense, 1 attempt at offense, and Ninjas in Pajamas vice versa.
So for NIP, swift spawn for them, and they're going to work their way more than likely up towards the roof relatively quickly here. At least for Pino and Julio, that'll be in the cards. You'll note that they're going to do that slowly. The defenders usually have access to quite a few angles where they can either just from inside the windows, or if they want to take a risk and hop outside, try to take out one of these members of NIP early on. It happens relatively rarely, but obviously NIP still need to keep a watch for that, as we saw them watching those side angles as they were rappelling towards the top here. You can see one of these more aggressive angles right now, not necessarily meant to punish the rappel, of course, but as NIP start to approach the skylight on the roof, that's where we'll potentially see some play come out from Eclipse.
Okay, well, cool, calm, and collected right now for DarkZero. Waiting for the next strike here from Ninjas in Pajamas, and most of their offensive rounds have been well, back and forth in between all-out aggression as well as sneaking up on DarkZero. We've seen quite a few crouch walks through this top floor just to try and get some, you know, slide positioning on these defensemen and make their life a heck of a lot more difficult. Just remember how important it is for information to be gathered inside of this game. Eclipse having none, and he'll end up losing to Pino on the swing across the map. He's going to give up a little bit of map control up top. Hyper now the lone soul here for DZ inside a cocktail.
Hyper took out the first drone that was sent his way. He knows the second one's somewhere around, and actually getting a little bit scared now because that one hasn't been killed. Doesn't know exactly how close NIP's push was. More than likely could have tried to stick around for a bit longer, but considering DarkZero are already down a player in this situation, probably would not have been the smartest move to make. So he's going to play for the long game here, falls back, takes up that late position on the inside of the site. For NIP, then, he's continuing to move forward here. There's the opening of all those top-down angles that we talked about before. Instead of just going to the second to the first floor, it just works in the third, down to the second.
All right, well, Muzi, here's the Nitro Cell tear. The telltale sign that something is going to explode here in the next couple of seconds. That tape rip. That's exactly why Ninjas in Pajamas start rolling around here. They do not want to be standing still, especially with BC having that cardiac sensor. You can make it to where this actually ends up landing, and more than likely taking out one of these NIP members. Although, still have a lot of top control here and have an opportunity to look for a plant attempt. But you can see DarkZero's already prepared for this. They've already adjusted one of their players down low as well to go for that round rotate eventually. But now Ninjas in Pajamas get yet another body as NJR falls.
Attacks from NIP continuing to look strong, especially inside of an early round situation. It's always a late round. We're seeing the evolutions, though, but might not be happening this time. DarkZero quickly go from 3 to 1. Panbazou, oh my goodness, as you can see, he's completely overwhelmed there just a second later as well. And that'll be the end of it. NIP take very swift control of another attack as he's continuing to look very, very clean.
Yeah, don't really have much more to say about that round. That was very straightforward. Ninjas in Pajamas work all of the angles, and that was more of the home improvement that we were talking about from those previous ones. There was so many angles for DarkZero to try and worry about here. Great angle work from Pino there to be able to get that, as well as a frag grenade coming in for the triple. So good stuff to Ninjas in Pajamas. They sit 1 round away from victory.
See if they can get it done, however, as they've been in this position once, if not twice, already back in regulation. Now, keep in mind, they have lost some overall points that they would have normally gained as a result of winning it in regulation, but they still certainly want to look for that win if it can be presented to them. DarkZero, of course, playing for the spoiler a little bit here and to really try to secure as strong of a position in the group as possible. What's up?
Hyper on Buck. This is something that...
He teased it earlier, but didn't end up doing it.
We, never see him play Buck, ever. This is the Zofia player, and that's really about it. We don't really see him go too far away from, you know, that side of the fence. Maybe every once in a while an Ash, but even then, I can't even think of the last time that I saw Hyper play Ashe, so this one definitely a standout pick for him.
Yeah, certainly the case. Like I was saying there, he did tease pick it earlier. I think it might have been like the first or second round of the match, actually. We saw him swing over towards that, but it didn't end up locking it in as it was a 6 pick and it ended up going towards a Yana instead. So we'll see if Hyper bringing the buck here is going to increase the potential. I would agree, because the last time it was almost probably going to be on a 3rd floor take. Probably not super useful here, but again, against the 2nd floor take, gives you that extra bit of security when it comes to your soft destruction. If you lose either Hyper or Eclipse, the other one can back up the other's role quite easily. Not to mention the fact that Hyper has some quick play potential if there's going to be any soft walls left alive down on the 2nd floor too, for him to quickly dispatch of and allow for the team to push through.
Yeah, that's honestly one of the coolest thing about Buck's kid is his ability to transition from that skeleton key over to his AR so very quickly. So it's kind of a surprising thing, some of the angles that he can create and almost immediately have an influence over, and something that you should always be looking into. One that you guys can use at home that's a pretty cool angle on this site or on this map in general for Buck, really anybody at the end of the day, but Buck can use it especially well with how instantaneous we were talking about it before, is the bathroom up top inside of Christmas. If you pop the wall right to the right-hand side that looks through the door, you can actually see the top of white stairs, and that's an angle that's abused very, very often by a bunch of different players on the offense, because it just makes the white hall so very difficult to play. But enough angle talk here. We're about a minute in here now for DarkZero as Hyper's trying to get out of this containment zone for his drone. He cannot get away from the glass like a fish caught inside of, well, fish globe. Not really much more to way to put it. So that's about it. That's all I got, John.
As we continue to see the play unfold out now for DarkZero, we'll have to see
globe.
them look for control over the NIP hold here. NIP again, though, still with this extended position out and about. Muzi to be one of the ones trying to challenge that, and actually will go for a bit of a direct challenge over towards the cigar position here, but quickly has to back away from it. He's got other forms of utility there to support it, most notably in the Toxic Bay that was just thrown out from Kamikaze. So Muzi's got plenty of other things that he could potentially worry about.
Ninjas in pajamas, sitting on their hands right now, waiting to see what DarkZero's next move is going to be. It's looking somewhat similar to what we saw earlier on here. This might just be the Christmas control right into the dining take, but we'll have to see. They will pop the wall for that, but now Psycho simply walks on up. No one aware of the situation in the slightest, not on a drone, nothing at all. He'll walk in, take down BC, and now Ninjas in Pajamas understand the situation, especially with the positioning of DarkZero inside of mining.
Psycho going to be a little bit lower now, so more likely play to these pixel angles where he takes a shot and gets hit, would more than likely instantly die regardless. Panda, though, returning some of the favor for the frag earlier against Kamikaze, or rather against BC by taking out Kamikaze and bringing it back down into an even fight yet again. Muzi has not been detected, and no one's even aware of his position on the inside of Freezer. He gets away with a free one so far, but overextends out into the open, where NJR will be able to punish that and push it even further now with a double. Psycho still in the fight as well, though, like I said, playing those pixel angles, he takes down Hyper and keeps the numbers even at a 2v2. Eclipse was ready to push in and start the commitment towards a plant, but they're going to need the case to start that first. NJR a little bit unsecure with his current position as he lurks back over to grab it.
Well, lots of issues now for both of these teams, but it's going to take 15 seconds to see if we're into another round. Eclipse, the rest of DarkZero just being NJR. Need to get this case down. NJR currently coming down white, but he's being shut down by Julio. He tries to flick. Eclipse is there for the frag, and Eclipse is there for 2. Ninjas in Pajamas can't get it done, and we're going to the maximum round required to finish this game.
For a match that has virtually...
Literally 0, nothing. You get SI points,
You know what the
Snip.
funniest part was,
You get
right?
SI points, Snip.
Remember that Navi game earlier? That also didn't really have any implications.
Dude, I told you. We were cursed with overtimes. I tried to tell you this, and you're like, no, it's not that at all, Sam. It's not that. No, we're cursed, John. We are indeed, my friend. But it's okay, because we get to have fun. I hope everybody else at home
I'd love to
has
like
fun as
hype
well.
this up, be like, oh, DarkZero's so close to going to the playoffs, but it's like, no, that's already done. So
Yeah, we're just trying to be as
that
candid
was
as
12
we possibly
hours ago, was all that excitement.
Yeah, exactly. We're trying to just be as candid as we possibly can with you guys, because realistically, this is all about those SI points for Ninjas in Pajamas. But again, for those of you that are just joining the B stream, that'll be explained on the analyst desk after, because it's quite complicated, and we're not smart enough to give it to you.
A lot of it is very hypothetical at this point as
Yes.
well, based on my understanding of the situation.
Yeah,
So, very nuanced discussion will be on the analyst desk when we get them back a little bit later on the show after that tiebreaker game as well.
Yeah, and I'm a Sith, so I only speak in absolutes. That's all I can do.
What?
I don't know, man. I'm like, I'm ready for this game to
Where did the
slightly
Star Wars reference come from?
Well, I don't know. I just felt it. I was feeling it in the moment. How are you going to do this? Either way.
Anyways, we're just thrown off by that one. Either way, we've got NIP.
He's probably a Star Trek fan. That's probably what it is. You're disgusting.
No, only TNG. That's the only Star Trek I watch. But anyway, for NIP, still looking to shut this one down, and they get an attacking round to do it. I would argue the attacking side has been the stronger one here from NIP. They've had some absolutely dominating rounds where they've just thrown raw aggression at DarkZero, and DarkZero, for the most part, hasn't really had a grasp on it. But the good news for DarkZero, they seem to have planned for this. You can see all of the Aruni laser gates, the denial as well coming in from the pests, even castle barricades blocking so much of the first tier access that NIP will need to clear out to even get close to the inside of this building and have the capability to assault the site.
Well, Gun 6 going to end up taking out that castle barricade. And that's a piece of utility that we actually haven't talked too much about at this land, because mostly we haven't seen a lot of people carrying it. That's the craziest thing to me, honestly. But the Gun 6, still a pretty useful piece of secondary utility. It is going to eliminate the possibility of you having a secondary that you can actually frag with, like a pistol or an automatic or something like that. But it's going to give you one explosive round to get rid of utility around the map, and it's something that Ubisoft provided us because of the amount of explosive utility on defense, like castle barricades and all of these other things. Obviously, castle barricades working a little bit differently because you can sledge them, but you can also sledge a couple of other things inside of those explosive utility departments as well. But we're about a minute in now, though, as things are still pretty quiet around the map. 0 damage dealt to either of these teams. Ninjas in Pyjamas trying to muster something for Christmas.
And so now, it's DarkZero yet again playing themselves back, relying heavily on that extended utility to try and save the necessary time. So far, not a great job of it, but as we have seen in past rounds as well, NIP has been great at working things on the rappel itself, but this time, not really going to happen too well at the beginning of the round. Great nitro cell placement comes out from DarkZero, deals with Pino before he even get into the building here. Also removes that sledge capability, which would have been nice to have here. Certainly not necessary on side of this round, though. All they really needed the sledge for was the hatch work at the beginning, and aside from that, it's kind of optional past that point. Kamikaze, though, has a player locked into this corner. Can't get him out to the open. There we go. The spam coming in. It's actually going to be a different player going down. BC did get down himself, but NJR trades that out pretty much instantaneously onto one of the members of NIP.
Poor position choice there for BC, but it works out for the rest of DarkZero. The frags are starting to come through. Kamikaze starting to fight back as well now, as he'll knock it down into a 3 versus 2, but this is still favoring the defense. Kamikaze now up inside of Whitehall. Since there's more than likely someone around this cocktail area, and it's actually 2 people. I'll have Muzi in tow here. He's starting to push forward. Lots of time here, but the hot ping is starting to come in, and Ninjas in Pyjamas not knowing what to do now, as they simply can't get rid of any of this utility that's currently marking them. They don't even know where it is. They go down to the next floor, try to get a breach here and see if they can possibly get something done. Muzi, it works out for him. Panbazou has no idea what's going on. He's been gobsmacked, and he gets shut down. It's a 2 versus 2 now. 15 seconds remain. Muzi gets 1, and the refrag! Kamikaze and Ninjas in Pyjamas off the back of some insane breaching round plays, win the cafe, and beat DarkZero.
Now look, that's cool and all.
What the heck was that?
But I'm going to come in here and be the bearer of bad news.